Hello there, beautiful souls and beautiful humans. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Manifesting StarPeace Utopia. I am RozyGlow. I am delighted to be here with you today. And if you don't know quite what I do, I am here to support people to live their very best life. And as corny as that sounds, I teach people to use the magic wands that they were gifted in their internal beingness and to co-create their reality consciously in alignment with the highest good of all and the win-win-win. So this means being heart-centered and soul-led. And if you like the sound of that, whether you're here in the StarPeace Facebook group or on the YouTube channel, please do hit the tab that says yay, like, love, subscribe, hit notifications, hit all videos. It's really, really wonderful when you show your support to this vision, because all of us are co-creators of our reality. And having come from a lot of struggle myself into a space where I genuinely feel as though I am thriving and winning in most areas of my life and learning to grow and to thrive in areas where I'm still mastering, it is wonderful to enjoy this and to share this journey with others. Now, today I am here to share with you some of the most phenomenal golden nuggets, even rainbow gems, if you like, that I gained from the Art of Living event that the wonderful Matthew McConaughey put on. And this was a couple of days ago. It was on Monday, the 24th of April. And he had other wonderful guests with him who I will also share about. And, you know, this is the first in history. OK, he's come together as an actor, as an influencer, as someone who's a heart-centered and I would say resolved masculine, to join with other thought leaders, with other people who are pioneering in the self-development movement, to bring their energies together and to share some very, very powerful messaging about how each of us can get more of what we actually want in life and how to line ourselves up with green lights rather than constantly encountering red light after red light after red light. Now, there were loads and loads of parallels in terms of what I teach in my coaching programs, and it really reminded me, because he has created a program which is a roadmap to this whole process. And it reminded me very much of our Liberation from Limitation course that we've been running for years. And the analogy for him was on going on a road trip. For us, it's about learning to navigate your internal sat nav and reprogramming it so that it is soul-led rather than ego or, you know, a limited mindset led. Now, I'm going to go through four things here before I go forward. The key insights I heard him highlight along with his guest coaches. How what he shared from the self-development circuit into the collective consciousness. How what he shared can move from the self-development circuit into the collective consciousness of humanity, because I've seen here something that we can all become more aware of and therefore understand how to go deeper. Why what was shared is only 2/6 of what is required for a full global shift into StarPeace consciousness, which is really the consciousness of being heart-led, soul-inspired, being in the mindset of creating the best outcomes for everybody, and ultimately learning to live fueled from oxytocin, the love hormone, rather than fueled by adrenaline, the stress hormone. And the key role that the conscious heart-centered pioneers in the entertainment industry have to play in our next level evolution. So beyond all of that, I'm going to then showcase the part that you can play in all of this, because you have a huge part to play in it, just like I do. Now, at the time of me making this particular video, I'm relatively unknown to those that I'm seeking to connect with, or I am fully intending to connect with. But you've heard me use the analogy that the Dalai Lama gave about being a mosquito. If you fear not being powerful because you're small, you're tiny, you don't feel like you're visible, try spending a night in a room with a mosquito. And just think about how mighty and powerful that tiny, tiny little thing is, that every time you turn the light on, you can't see it, but then you turn the light off and it's there buzzing in your ear, biting you. Well, hello, I'm a cosmic mosquito. And my intention is to fully align with my vision in such a way that those that I know I am destined to work with, to inspire, to help transform their concept of what is possible, to then be able to do the remit of what I've been given. So to fulfill their soul mission, to fulfill the mission of StarPeace, should they choose to accept it. So if you are here and you like what I'm saying, please do respond in the comments, because I would absolutely love to hear your take on everything. And I'm just going to start really with a little bit here about the synopsis of what actually happened. So Matthew McConaughey, you must know who he is. If you don't, he's initially, I thought, made famous by a whole load of rom-coms, romantic comedies. I've always felt a strong allegiance with him. You know, when you have a soul connection with someone. And he's reminded me of my dad. He's reminded me of my first love. There's just this essence of him. his energy being very familiar. And when he was sharing with everybody, and he brought together 2.4 million people, I believe, subscribed to this free event. It might have been 2.2, but I believe it was 2.4 at its peak. So 2.4 million people subscribed to this free event, and it went on for over 5 hours. I was committed from start to end, and it was absolutely phenomenal to see him step forward in his authenticity. So he wasn't acting, he was showing up in his truth, in his heart-centered truth, wanting to offer something beyond his book, Green Lights, which is brilliant. And I have a copy of it here. And, you know, I admit I'm still reading it. But every part of it that I read, I'm like, yes, 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 I totally get that. I totally get that. And there was a big discussion about, as I said, green, yellow, and red lights, and how to navigate through life's challenges and be able to come out on top, to learn from everything. So in the bringing together of these 2.4 million people, ultimately what was being offered was the idea behind this was to admit where people wanted more in their lives. And he was particularly looking at the effects of the last 3 years. So the post-fear pandemic, I'm going to call it, whatever we believe individually about what happened and what caused it, etc. It certainly triggered tremendous fear and tremendous change for everybody. So his intention was to admit where people want more in their lives, and to gain the roadmap to get what you want, and ultimately carry a new perspective with us into the future. So it was about gaining the roadmap to get what we actually want, and ultimately carry a new perspective with us into the future. Shift our perception of reality. Now that is exactly what this group is about, StarPeace. And I'm going to say this a million times. Please check out starpeaceconsciousness.com if you haven't already. I'll put it in the text box. I started a movement over a year ago with the intention of seeing what people could do for free to shift their perception of reality, and as a result of that, shift their experience of life. And that's exactly where I see this commonality in our goals, and why I got so excited. So what else did he say here? So there were 2 key elements. One was about investing in yourself, the importance of investing in yourself, in recognizing how important it is, if you want to affect change in the world around you, that you absolutely must affect internal change first in order for those changes that you wish to see in the world to materialize. It starts with us cleaning up our internal back garden, and then our external back garden, and then it goes outwards. So it's kind of think global, act local. That's correct, right? And the second point was about embracing being selfish. And I'm going to go into that in a little bit more detail in a moment. Now, what I would recommend you do, hello, those who are joining, is grab a notebook and pen, or maybe even if you want to record this on your phone so you can listen back to it. There were so many beautiful key points that I'm not going to go too much into the details of his roadmap. I'm going to suggest you actually go to his website, which I will put the website address in the text box afterwards, so you can check it out, because of course he was offering a course as well, and it was very interesting how people responded to that. And it really again made me think about the difference between the self-development movement and how we could actually affect global change in the fastest possible way, which isn't through the logical mind. And I'll go there in a moment. But essentially, I'm going to give you the absolute nuggets that I received from every one of the teachers that were there. So just to name them, because I know that I had actually never heard Tony Robbins speak before, which is really interesting. But Dean Graziosi, Trent Shelton, Tony Robbins, and McConaughey, and of course the lovely Marie Forleo was also there. So each of them gave some real beautiful tidbits that really support conscious mind alignment, and I'm going to go into them. So now is the time to grab your pen. So he started off, Mr. Matthew, with the 10 key points that are all to do with his personal transformation, and this is all to do with his road trip and his roadmap and what he would be taking people through. So I'll just skim through them. The first one was about recognizing, and this was something that Dean Graziosi said, that inspiring others is one thing, but we also want to lead to transforming others. And this is something that Tony Robbins talks about. Now, inspiration does lead to transformation if you, guess what, take action. So it's one thing to listen to things that make you buzz, but it's the next thing is to actually take an action in alignment with what is making you inspired, rather than just switch the channel and listen to something else. And I know loads of people are really into getting inspired, but not necessarily taking action, in which case you are a watcher. And if you are a watcher, you're always sitting on the sidelines. So if this sounds like you, you're here for a reason, my darling, and that is to get the kick up the bum in the nicest possible way, to shift from being a watcher to being a take actioner. And in taking action, that's when things really shift. And I've seen something happen very recently for someone in my community who decided to do exactly what I was saying, and immediately things have started shifting. So the first thing is about recognizing that we want to admit to ourselves where we do want more, where we're not satisfied in our lives, okay, where we actually want things to be different to how they are, and to admit also what we perceive our failings are, what we perceive is in the way of us getting what we want. What do we think are our shortcomings? What do we think we have going for us? But the whole admit element, you could almost say, is a bit like confession, right? And sometimes you do sound like a preacher, a charismatic preacher, and that's the beauty. This is this thing about influence and fame, and how it's like a knife edge, right? How we use the power that we have to influence others. Are we going to sell them snake oil? And this is one of the elements that many influencers are constantly tripping themselves up and too scared to really share an authentic voice because they're scared of getting it wrong in their truth, right? Is, are we going to sell snake oil, or are we going to authentically speak up from the heart, dare to pass a message on that might not be popular initially, but will ultimately create the kind of challenge in our thought forms, in our status quo mindset, to then allow something different to occur? And so what we talked about here is admit the lies to reveal the true you. Admit the lies you tell yourself to reveal the truth of who you are. And also to clear the lane between the head and the heart. So that was point one. Point two was about illusion, owning where we have illusion in our lives. So he admitted that sometimes reality is not enough for him. And I know that's really true for me as well. Like just feeling like life is literally just eat, sleep, repeat. Just isn't eat, work, sleep, repeat, eat, work, sleep, repeat. I don't want to live life like that. I need to find the magic in everything. When I look for it, I find it. When I decide I have purpose in life, I do have purpose in life. But as he said, I have unrealistic expectations. So when life doesn't live up to it, I start chasing false expectations. So where do I not have appropriate expectations? Now, this came up yesterday. Yesterday was quite funky energy. All right. It was really interesting. It was quite easy to get into some gnarly spaces with people, and I did twice yesterday, admittedly. So one of the things was about expectations, then it was about demands, and then it was about appropriateness. So where do we have he said it here, where do I not have appropriate expectations? So where am I showing up with an expectation and a demand, but I'm not actually lining up with what I want? I'm expecting others to do for me what I can do for myself, or I'm expecting others to put up with things that they shouldn't be putting up with, because in them enabling me to carry on like that, whether that's me or that's you, I don't ever look in the mirror and see the very thing that I am doing that is causing me the dissatisfaction and the unfulfillment in my own life. It's like when you say, I really, really want this, but my true me does this and that, and I just need to be accepted like that. It's like, no, that's not your true you, darling. That's your conditioning that makes you very difficult to be accepted, because you keep creating battles and resistance. You keep creating challenges for others to overcome, which doesn't make it easy to be around you. Is that what you want? I'm putting that in simple terms for you. You can all take that as you want. So where am I missing out on what is right in front of me? Where am I not seeing it? And typically, my friends, when you can see something in others that you abhor, but you wouldn't dare believe that it's in you, right? You find people hypercritical, or you find people bullish, or you find people aren't very sensitive. And yet, actually, if you admit it, the way you show up, you don't know it, but others would say to you, if they weren't scared of offending you, that you're quite similar to that. So important lessons. Number 3, false sense of identity. And this is around hanging around enablers. So when you have an attachment to a false sense of identity, what you're doing here is you're kind of hanging around those who perpetuate that false sense of identity. So in the world of fame and fortune, in the world of influences, that would be around others who are yes men and women, those who would just say, kiss your bum basically and tell you you're amazing no matter what, and never actually say to you, hey, you know what, that was out of order. That's not really going to get you what you want. That's not really the way to show up. Now, humility is something he talked about here, admitting that all of us have more to learn, and we do. Like, it's really important to own where you are a master, where you are absolutely brilliant at something, and also where there is room for growth, right? And so everything that is a strength in our lives, and something you touched on later, can also be a weakness. It just depends on how you look at it. So step 3, false sense of identity. Who do you hang around that enables your false sense of identity? Now, maybe it's the holier than thou spiritual people don't need money, okay? Or maybe it's the, there's always subconscious vows of poverty that get taken. For me, it was the single mums club. When I was a single mum, I hung around other single mums, and all of us had this belief that there were no good men out there. All men treated you like shit. And guess what? We kept experiencing that. When I started my first business, I needed to start to separate away from that single mums club. They've been a huge support to me for a long time, but I couldn't stay in that poverty consciousness, in that lack mindset, in that I'm hard done by and I need rescuing mindset, right? And fear-based paradigm. I had to challenge it. I had to move beyond it, and they weren't going to do it with me. So it was this gently stepping away from that false identity, because I'm not a single mum. If I don't want to be a single mum, then I need to stop perpetuating the story of the single mum, right? So birds of a feather flock together, my friends. Who do you hang around with? They say that, the 5 people you spend the most time with are the people that you become like. So who do you hang around with? Who do you spend the most time with? And, are you happy with the energy exchange between you? What do they bring out in you? Do they lift you up, or do they bring you down? Do they inspire you to be a better version of yourself, or do they challenge you the whole time to stay in your center, right? Just be aware of this and allow yourself to notice where there's room for growth without beating yourself up. Step 4, complacency. Now, this is a nice, interesting segue to victim consciousness. So who do you blame? Who do you give your power to? Who is it that has more power than you in your life? Is it the government? Is it the doctor? Is it your mum? Is it your trauma story? Is it your illness? And please don't think that I'm not being compassionate here, but I'm just saying, what do you give your power to? This is very linked to false identity. It's like, who do you want to be? Who is the version of you that you want to empower yourself into being? Who do you want to be? You might be sick to death of the version of you that you are that shows up. But one of the things I see a lot in my coaching work is creatives who have, without realizing it, bought into the impoverished artist archetype. So, it's like, it's all good while we're all struggling together for our art. But if I dare to be successful, to make it, I've sold out. Oh, look, they've suddenly got money. They don't hang out with us anymore. Oh, look, they're popular over here and they're there. And it's like, hold on a minute. Thriving is essential. Like, creativity and thriving, are they not something that can work together? Do we need to, cut our nose off to spite our face? Do we need to be struggling artists? Is there a way to be thriving artists, thriving creatives? Like, it's challenging the stereotypes. Very, very important. So in the complacency element, it's all about who we blame for our problems, who we blame for the way we are. It's because my dad left me. It's because my mum was an alcoholic. It's because I wasn't given what I needed as a child. It's because I had this accident at age 15. Well, all these things happened, and on a soul level, you chose them, and that's tough. Okay, every tough moment in my life, accepting that on a soul level, I chose to have key things happen in my life in order to remember who I truly was. And I did that through experiencing hardship and choosing to overcome that, to not let it drag me down to the point that I surrender and die. That's the stuff. It's the sink or swim stuff that takes you out of victim consciousness. There's a difference between being a victim of something and staying stuck in the struggle. Okay, so bear that in mind. Number 5, our greatest strengths are also our greatest weaknesses. So he was talking about resilience and how resilient he is. And he'll just get back up every time. And I really resonated with this myself, because he'll just get back up every time and just go around again. And every time he steps in the same dog poo, and he's really good at carrying on running and cleaning that dog poo and just carrying on regardless. And he's like, well, hold on a minute. If I actually slow down a bit and I wasn't just so determined to just keep going no matter what, maybe I'd notice where that dog poo is next time and not stand in it. Right? So resilience, tenacity, these are phenomenal strengths, right? But they can also be our greatest weaknesses because we don't take that time to slow down and go, oh, okay, do I need to keep repeating this thing that keeps showing up in my life? Is there another way? So the resilience element basically leads you to potentially being a repeat offender. That's what he said. And I just thought that was really good. And I know others who really feel that. So wisdom and discernment are more valuable than resilience. Can I get an amen for that? Because it's very powerful. So then we got to white lies and whether white lies are okay or not. And it was definitely an on the fence statement that he made, because there are times when white lies are key. There are other times when they can be of disservice. So I'm not going to go too much into that one. But what I will say is that, you know, I think the important thing to remember is if we live a life of dishonesty, trying to keep other people happy all the time because we don't want to hurt their feelings, those white lies become black lies. They become, actually not even, why black? Those white lies become basically a life and a basis for lying, to the point that you forget your own truth because your whole life is based on one consecutive lie after another, and you end up believing those lies. Now, can that work in your favor? Yes. Fake it till you make it, right? You know, you need to embody a version of you that you're not yet in order to have the experiences you want in life. So acting as if you already have it is key. Is that lying to yourself? Well, yeah, it's using creatively the power of our imagination, isn't it? To imagine who we would be if X wasn't going on, or if we then had this in our lives that we didn't have before. This requires your conscious mind. This requires you to utilize the power of your imagination to create something different from what you've got. And you have to imagine it out of thin air. So this kind of white lie can be incredibly useful to you. All right, let's move on. So number 7, imposter syndrome, huge thing that happens when you're stepping into your bigness. So basically what happens with imposter syndrome is we find ourselves being in the camp of lack of achievement. So he talked about when he actually rose to fame with the film A Time to Kill, which I actually haven't seen, but apparently this is how he went into being an overnight success, and it completely freaked him out. Suddenly he was everywhere, and he ran off, I believe, to a monastery and basically faced his demons and confessed and confessed and confessed until he realized he was no real different to anyone else. And actually we all go through this as we suddenly get something that we have wanted for so long. I know I felt it when my husband and I first got together after so many years of seeking to co-create a sacred union and be a part of it. I used to wake up in the middle of the night in a sweat every night, just like panicking. Is this going to last? Is this real? Is it going to be taken away? Because I was so used to longing for rather than having, that when you get to having, if you haven't actually like expanded yourself into the place of recognizing you're truly worthy and deserving of having, and also everything is transient, therefore hold it lightly and don't be attached to it as a marker of your success, right? Then you know, what ends up happening is we self-sabotage. So whether that's around money, whether that's around visibility, whether it's around relationships, whether it's about our status at work and, you know, climbing up the ladder where we wanted to get to. It's these achievements that we measure our self-worth by. We need to be very careful about that. You know, you're intrinsically worthy no matter what, but having more of what you want in this life requires alignment. Number 8, face your fears. What is the boogeyman? The unknown, the darkness, my fears in my future. Like, you have to face what you're scared of if you want to break through the fear of actually having rather than longing for. Okay, now there's more I'll say on this as we go on, because each of the other coaches shared some really wonderful stuff around this, but you have to face your boogeyman. What are you really scared of? I love this. So here's one to write down. Anything worth gaining will cost us something. I'll say that again. Anything worth gaining will cost us something. So the next thing that came from there is we can't have fears and flaws and not get somewhere. There is no getting there without them. It's the fears and the flaws that basically get you to kind of move beyond them, right? To seek fulfillment where you currently feel dissatisfaction. So facing fears and you're loving yourself for your flaws are both essential. And it's, again, walking this midline, walking this sweet spot between not allowing things to take you over, but allowing them to guide you and gently nudge you along where you need to go. Sometimes you get the wallops as well. So what monster do I need to look in the eye? What am I scared of? Maybe I'm scared that I'm not really much at all. Maybe I'm scared people think I'm stupid or I'm not intelligent. Maybe maybe I'm scared that if I really share my true message with the world, people will think I'm delusional. Maybe I'm scared that I won't be taken seriously. Maybe I'm scared that I'll be ridiculed. Maybe I'm scared that once I have what I say I want, I'm not going to be that satisfied by it. I'm going to be disappointed. Okay, what is the fear that you need to face? The false evidence, false expectation, false emotion appearing real. Work with that. It's powerful. Number 9, gratitude. Now, this is missing from so many people's lives. Okay, those who I see that get stuck in their struggle story typically forget to practice an inventory of gratitude. What is good in their lives? What is it that they feel they are succeeding with? What is it that they feel happy about? And I know I've been guilty of this too. It's like, I kind of feel all these wonderful things that are in my life that I never thought would actually be here anymore. They're not that great. I want more. It's like, okay, it's okay to want more, but what about, wow, you've got this far. You had no idea how you were going to get this far and you've got here. What more do you want? Great. Let's work with that. All right. Now, what are we thankful for? Do you dissect your failures more than your successes? There's something wonderful that he said a bit further on, which I'll come to, but moving towards something more meaningful or running from the past. These are questions to ask yourself, okay? We don't realize how much we have done already, how much we have achieved. So one of the things he said here around gratitude is, remember to stop at a red light, but don't get stuck there. Right. So when something in your life is going, do not go here, this is not a good idea. Maybe you've gone back to a relationship and you know that it is tattered beyond repair. You know that it is dysfunctional. You know that it is unhealthy. You know that ultimately it is abusive. And for you to stay in it would be a huge disservice to you, your children, if you have them, and the other person, because you'd be living a lie. Right. Okay, that's happened. Move on. Now start to build yourself up. Start to look at how you attracted this kind of thing in the first place and sort your internal dialogue out and your subconscious programming so you don't attract that again. By the way, that's the kind of thing that I work with people to do. Once you've done that, okay, the difference between having a red light and then doing something about it, so then you can move forward cautiously with the amber and then with the green in a new direction as you see that you have shifted your energy, therefore you're attracting new experiences that are different to the past. That's very different to, oh my goodness, I was in an abusive relationship. Oh my goodness, I had an abuser in my life. Oh my goodness, I've been abused, and staying stuck in that story. So that's the kind of analogy that will help. So one of the things he suggested was committing to dissecting successes rather than failures. I think, again, very powerful. Now, the last thing that he said here of the 10 points in this roadmap was trust. Trust in fellow man, in the goodwill of all. Trust in fellow woman and the goodwill of all. And I think that was really powerful too. So again, his roadmap, his course, his learnings that are all in the book Green Lights, then put forward into actions, into, some form of process that you can follow to train your conscious mind to align with what you want rather than what you don't want. That was what he was presenting there. Now, we then moved on to Marie Forleo, who I've never heard before. So again, it was really great to hear this woman who has built a socially conscious global empire. And what she said is, you can only do what you do when you decide what you don't. I thought that was great. You can only do what you do when you decide what you don't, what you're not going to do anymore. Okay, so you can do what you do want to do. She talks a little bit about her own story and having become a victim of her own success and having to admit that we need a full-on red light in order to help us catch another green. So we need things to happen in our lives. Maybe it's something unexpected. It could be an illness. It could be a tragedy, but it allows us to realign and to get really clear on what truly matters to us rather than what we think we want, but actually isn't really what it's about. So a few little tidbits here as well that I would say are really, really powerful. You can write down. Getting on the path to more means doing less. Getting on the path to more, to having more, means doing less. Okay, it just makes sense that as you do less, you have more because you're putting less effort in, so you receive more. Okay, useful patterns that in the past either helped us to thrive or to survive. It's important to look at this. The useful patterns in our lives that either helped us to thrive or survive. So, you know, when you're going through an inventory of what's staying in your life and what's going, one of the things to remember, and we've talked about this before, is that you will have adopted habits, patterns of behavior to avoid something painful. And typically when we're younger, the kind of habits that we adopt and behaviors we adopt will stop us feeling one type of pain, but very often are detrimental to our health or well-being long term. For example, smoking or drinking or overworking as a way of avoiding uncomfortable feelings. Now, there comes a point where you kind of need to look at these habits and say, are they still serving me? They stopped me feeling the pain that I didn't know what to do with at the time. But now that I'm older, now that I have more resources available to me, what can I do instead that isn't detrimental to me, that actually nourishes me? So a very important point. And this is where she says, what got us here is not going to get us there. Wherever it is we want to go, whatever got us to this point, we're going to need to shift into another gear to receive what we want that's in another frequency. Releasing the hidden addiction is key. And what's the hidden addiction to? Hard work, struggle, the old paradigm. And I put here being stuck in the struggle. That was something that I wrote down. So she taught a really beautiful mind hack, which she said is nearly 3 times more powerful than saying no. It works much much better than I can't. It is 8 times more effective than I can't. And basically it is using the words I don't for whatever it is you want to avoid So for her, it was overwhelm. She talked about saying to herself repeatedly, I don't do overwhelm. So you could turn this into, I don't do lack. I don't do uncommitted partners. I don't do unhealthy relationships. I don't do unhealthy foods. I don't do addictions. I don't do, there's guilt. I don't do failure. I don't do self-sabotage. You write it down, but literally using that word is a really, really great mind hack. I don't do rather than I can't or I won't. I don't. It's just a decision, right? So you can work with that and play with it. And another bit of advice, so that was all tying into neuroplasticity, which basically I remember hearing this when I used to teach baby yoga. Neurons that fire together wire together. And that is the habit, building a new habit. The more you build it, you create the neural pathways. And as a result of creating those neural pathways, you then create a new habit. And that is the beauty, that our brains are not set. We can actually keep growing all the way through our lives. So whatever we inherited as a legacy, if we don't like it, we can change it. Now, stay on your big game. My more is helping you create yours. So this comes back to this being selfish as a healthy thing, which I think is really powerful. So thank you, Marie. That was really, really useful. I'm now moving on to Dean Graziosi. And again, these are just the highlights. What I really loved about him saying here was own your future. And he talked about the 3 C's. And I think it was an I. Let's just see if I've got it here. No, the 3 C's and a P. So the 3 C's that will help you to own your own life are embracing change, number 1. Number 2, having the courage to move forward in the direction that you want, even though you're scared. So feel the fear, do it anyway. And number 3, cultivating confidence. So confidence in the new you that you are becoming. Now, you can't get confident unless you get courageous. So one leads on to the other. Embracing change, necessary. Your uncomfortable familiar zone isn't where anything you want is going to land. It ain't going to come into your living room. Even if it did, you're going to push it away because you don't feel worthy of it. I did that in someone's life once. I literally walked into their living room. I was the change they had been calling in. But did they change? No. They looked for all the reasons not to. And in the end, I got bored and I stepped away because I can't be with someone that's going to so stubbornly hold on to their old ways because they don't want to look at the patterns of behavior that keep creating what they don't want. So even if someone like me shows up in your living room, the likelihood you are going to push it away push us away, even if I'm here talking with you, because you don't feel worthy of the change. And you know you're going to have to shift. You're going to have to get uncomfortable. You're going to have to embrace the unfamiliar. So change, necessity, get with it, embrace it. Have the courage to step forward even though you are scared. Because when you're scared, fear means go, not no. All right, unless you're actually dealing with a saber-toothed tiger, in which case, again, it would mean run, right? And so go is still very useful. And also remember that confidence comes from embracing change and having the courage to do things that scare you. That's how you build confidence. But also there's another element to confidence, which is to allow yourself to focus on things you're good at so that you can build more confidence. So work more on things you are good at, work on stuff you love, it builds confidence. Figure out the things that build your confidence and do more of them. Many of us focus a lot, especially in self-development, on the things we're not good at. Now, of course, there is a place for developing skills, but you know, I would not be where I am today if I was still trying to be good at Excel spreadsheets, or getting my head around Excel, or getting my head around Asana, or any of the other organizational platforms that exist that when I look at, I cry, right? Because my brain doesn't work like that. Highly functional, neurodivergent, hello, right? But I have a team who do that stuff. So what I do is I do the stuff that I'm really good at that no one else can do, because no one else can do it. And that's the key. What are you really good at that no one else can do? What is it that only you can do? And how can you support yourself with others to help you with the things that are challenging for you? If you keep going, I've got to get better at this, I've got to get better at this, I've got to get better at this, all your energy is going into trying to get better at something, right, that you're not good at. So you're constantly reinforcing the fact that you're not good at this thing, that you're failing. Whereas you could be building your confidence bank by doing more of what you're good at, and building that energy, building that resource to support you with the things you're not so good at. Now, there is a double-edged sword here, which, no, let's use another analogy. What's important to recognize here is also that, of course, there are elements of things that you're going to need to get better at. So if you're not good at listening, learning to practice closing your mouth and listening before speaking, okay, you can develop that. If you are generally in your head and you're learning to be in your heart, you can practice that. And you can anchor that. That's different. This is you developing skills that are going to support you to get where you want to get to, right? But there are lots of things that we end up focusing on that we actually really don't need to get good at in order to succeed in the areas we want to. So discernment is key. The other thing he actually mentioned that I thought was really powerful is who's giving you bad free advice? Who do you go to and listen to who doesn't have what you want? So for example, you listen to someone who's in a miserable relationship about relationship advice. You listen to them, or you hear someone else's take on how you should handle money who is no good at handling money themselves, or you are, you know, remembering the voice of a teacher at school that maybe was incredibly judgmental and critical of you, but ultimately never amounted to much other than being critical and judgmental of others, his students or her students or their students, because that was what they felt they could do. Talk down to people, right? So whose free advice are you listening to that really is rubbish advice? You know, when you decide to make a shift in the direction that you want to go in, you don't need someone else to validate you. You don't need someone who's never taken that step before to advise you about what you should and shouldn't do. Go to someone who's already taken that step. Ask them whether the step you're thinking about taking is a worthwhile one. Ask them what they learned from it. Ask them what they've learned and they would suggest to you when you're making a decision about direction to go in. Right? Go to those who've already succeeded at something you want to succeed at. Ask them to guide you, to support you, to advise you. Not those who haven't got but have an opinion on everything, because there's plenty of those. All right. What does your shadow alter ego look like? Okay, I'm not going to go into that, but that is shadow work, and we do all of that in our coaching work as well. So the P, after the 3 C's, the P is basically about persuasion. And this is influence, and it leads to sales. And sales is considered a dirty word, as we know. And yet each and every one of us is selling ourselves every day. Now, the truth is, when we actually got to the part of the 5-hour event, when we're starting to talk about this, I you could sense that people were starting to go, oh, what's coming now? Have we got a sales pitch? And that was when they started to talk about the course that Matthew has put together with the other coaches. So with Tony Robbins, with Dean Graziosi, Trent Shelton, and with Maria Forleo. And, you know, when people have come to something free and then they feel like they're being pitched at, often there is some kind of reaction. And yet I'm like, have you not been listening to anything that's been talked about already? Because the what and the how are two different things, right? The how requires some effort. It's one thing to be inspired, which is what a free event will do. But if you want the transformation, that requires work, effort, meeting your resistance. This is what I say to all my coaching clients. Lots of people love my videos. Okay, they show up, they watch them, they get inspired for a moment, they come to my world service. Do they then book the desire mapping call? No. Why? Because then they're going to have to answer some questions. Then they're going to basically have a solution put towards them if they are a good fit for the work that we do. Then they're going to need to take some action. Maybe they're not going to have resources readily available. Maybe they do and they've just got to spend them. But every step of the way requires an action, right? Because you don't get to have all the things you say you want by staying here. You've got to get over here. And every decent teacher, coach, mentor, influencer is going to do everything they can to reach to you as far as they can, but they can't do the work for you. It's up to you. So it sounds like I'm doing a sales pitch for their course, but essentially I just loved a few things that came up here, which is sales is love, sales is service. And yeah, influence is love is what they said. So sales is service. I've heard this before. Now, one of the things I noticed at this point, which I want to speak about, is the fact that on this panel, so you have 1, 2, 3 plus Matthew McConaughey, 4 men, 80% of those who showed up for this event that held the energy were men and 1 woman. Did I feel the divine feminine there? No. All of them heart-centered, absolutely heart-centered pioneers. How many of them soul-led? I would say Matthew, soul-led. Now, that doesn't mean the others aren't all incredibly inspiring, successful, amazing at what they do, truly authentic, honest, top of their game. But this was where I saw the gap. And I was like, okay, well, one of the things that I've learned is that it's one thing to push, push, push and be your best self and, you know, show up and keep going and not give up no matter what. But there's also time to yield, a time to soften, a time to reflect, a time to allow the composting, the shift, the divine feminine, the divine masculine work through each of us if we allow them. And my path is a soul-led path. My path isn't just to will a change, but it's to surrender that change to the highest good of all and the win-win-win, to own desire without apology, whatever that personal desire is, but then to go, you know what? Higher self version of me who already has this, I know you know better than me. And I'm going to put this thing that I want in your hands. I know you know, because you've got a wider vision of what's going to get me there in the fastest, most graceful and easy time possible. Show me. I surrender this vision to you. What's even better than this? Now, many have a problem with handing over. Many have a problem with thy will be done. Many have a problem with surrendering to a higher power because it can easily reek of giving power away to an external authority. I'm not into that at all. It's not an external authority. It's an internal authority. This is your higher self. This is your God self, your divine particle that you are entrusting your vision with, your desire with. Okay, it's powerful. Whoa, can I get a name there? So welcome those who are joining. Please say hello. I'd love to know. So what robs my confidence? Where I don't know where is it I don't know what I need to know, I need to do. Small things swing a big door. And I thought this was really powerful because this was where Dean was talking about, you know, one half an inch at a time, making changes that are literally the consistent commitment to change. And this was something else that actually I forgot to mention that Matthew talked about, which is the art of living is basically what comes from the science of living. And the science of living is doing the groundwork. The science of living is basically doing the physical stuff, the emotional stuff, the psychological stuff, the spiritual alignment that's going to allow you to enjoy what you create, enjoy what you intend. And this is again the segue for me of where life imitates art. So let's make the art good. It's why the entertainment industry has such a huge role to play in all of this. And you are all hearing this firsthand. So thank you for sticking with me on this, because I want you to be inspired by everything I'm sharing from all the teachers that showed up on Monday. But I also really would love you to hear what I'm saying, which is a whole other level of what is possible if we take all of this and we take it to the roots, right? Rather than scratching the surface, take it to the roots and affect change in the most phenomenal way on a global scale that affects our universe, all right? Exciting stuff. Okay, so this is when they obviously went into things. I considered the fact that 80% of those who showed up to hold this space were masculine, what I would call resolved or resolving masculine, mature masculine, heart-centered masculine. What would happen if everyone was soul-led and they were actually utilizing their feminine principle of co-creation as well as the masculine principle? And the feminine principle is the creative, sexual, fertile energy that each of us need to connect to. Now, even Marie was talking about the fact that she had to have a hysterectomy, she had tumors, all sorts of things going on, which tells me this overdrive, this adrenaline focus, this yang energy that is so involved with so many people in the 4D consciousness of co-creating reality, manifesting. And this is when we become victims of our own success, because we're coming from a finite energy rather than an infinite energy. The infinite energy is the divine. Okay, the infinite energy is within us. It is the soul consciousness that leads us. It is not our willpower, which is limited. Okay, even if you amass a huge following. All right. So then where do we get to? Trent Sheldon. So Trent came on and he was very high energy again. And I really felt this sort of adrenaline, and I felt it a lot, I'll say, with between Trent and Dean, when I was hearing them talking, amazing speakers, but just like, to me, it was triggering a little bit of like, oh, my heart's racing a bit too much. And I don't want to be in that energy. I want to be in the really rooted down to rise up energy. There was a difference between the energy of each of the speakers, and it's worth checking out if you can, if you've got the replay. So what did he say? My perspective is my power. Also, another golden nugget: rejection is the ultimate protection. It is God working for you. So how do you actually turn this around? How do you look at this? How do you say, yes, okay, I love this. This thing that I didn't expect has just happened. We're in eclipse season as I make this video. This is the time of things happening that we don't expect. Can you really align with the idea that life is happening for you, not to you? Saw it in a movie the other day. I think Tony Robbins talked about it on Monday, right? Classic. We talk about it all the time in our RozyGlow coaching courses. But these are alignments that will get you on track. Another thing he talked about was that reality had to catch up with his faith. Now, I believe this was Trent, and I'm sorry if it was one of the other teachers, but when you want to create something, when you have a vision, it doesn't just land in your lap. Okay, this is where delayed gratification is so important. So many of us give up just before something has been co-created. My biggest dreams, I'm working on them now 2 years at least. Okay, in fact, it's even longer. 2020, I got the message about StarPeace. We're in 23. It took me a year of resisting it before I started working with it, a year of denying it before I decided to take my mission on, right? And I've been plowing away. There've been times I'm like, why am I doing this? But I know I'm so inspired because I have a vision. What is my why? What is your why? Well, my why is I don't want to be bored. I need to be inspired. I need to know there's a reason for me to be here. I like the idea that I'm a powerful agent of change. That makes me feel like I have purpose and meaning in my life. That gets me up, it drives me, it motivates me, it brings joy to me. It allows me to get through the challenges that I face rather than go, woe is me, and I can't deal with things, which occasionally I do, right? But like, it's not that suddenly everything is blue skies. Get over that expectation. And please don't demand life to give that to you. Okay, it's not going to happen. There will be clouds, there will be rain, there will be wind. Make the most of all of it. And as I have here, life is not about waiting for the storm to pass. It is about learning to dance in the rain. That's right in front of my yoga mat. Reminds me. Okay. So we all have to do this. Reality has to catch up with my faith. So what that means is, can you keep imagining something into being? Can you keep holding the faith? And I'll go into faith in a minute because that was powerful too. That something is materializing even if you can't see it yet. Can you ask for guidance to what the next step is? And keep the faith rather than give in to your fears. Because something that you want doesn't just show up. It doesn't just materialize out of nowhere, not in this physical realm. You have to build it from thought form to feeling form to plasmic form then it starts to gain momentum and materialize until it's a tangible thing in your physical reality, like this office. I never even thought I would have an office garden office, but I do. And now I want one 4 times the size because we're never satisfied, right? But no, I am. I love this. It's amazing. My beautiful husband built this for me. It's full of my wonderful things. It's got the color on the walls that I want, right? But I also accept that as this has been created, I'm growing beyond it. And that's life. We grow constantly. We stabilize, we expand. So here they are. There was something about the lens that we see through and recognizing that the prescription I have on my glasses is not right for your glasses. It's not for you, it's for me. So, you know, each of us gets shown what we need to see in order to move forward. I'm sharing with you everything that inspired me. Some of it will resonate, some of it won't, doesn't matter. Take the best, leave the rest, right? So faith is having a vision in the unseen. Faith is having vision in the unseen. Knowing in the unknowing. You can write that down. Faith, having vision in the unseen. Knowing in the unknowing. What else do you hear? Fear is the imagination undirected. Faith is the opposite. Let's do that again. Fear is imagination undirected. Faith is the opposite. So faith is your imagination directed, what you want to energize. Now, this is where I came in with totally loving the motivational speakers, but inspiration, transformation also needs the letting go and transmutation of subconscious trauma. So what I really felt was going on, and I'll talk about this when I finish the notes, which is imminently, is that what I was hearing in this 5-hour event was basically parts 2 and 5 of my 6-step process, which is all about co-creating your reality consciously. It's 2 parts. They're very powerful parts. They're like the bouncers at the doorway that will allow you to have something different or not, but on their own, they're not enough. Inspiration needs to lead to transformation for sure, but for that to happen, we have to transmute the subconscious programming. We have to rewire it. We have to transmute it. We have to clear the cloud storage that we have that's full of gunk that we don't need. And there's a lot of letting go there of subconscious trauma. So get beyond survival. You're afraid of change, but you do it anyway. That's what it really is, getting beyond survival. You're afraid of change, but you do it anyway. Now, there's a whole piece on 3 decisions. Again, I don't want to do all of this for you, but the 3 decisions that really support you to move forward in life. What are you going to focus on? Number 2, what does it mean to you? What has happened to you? Not just the fears, but what is the meaning you attach to it? So what do you want to focus on? What do you want to create in your life? What does this energize in you? What is the feeling state attached with it? What does it mean to you? And thirdly, what are you going to do about it? Now, he gave this really, really good example around his daughter, which I just thought was brilliant. So we're moving into Tony Robbins now. One of the things I loved him saying here was when we succeed, we party, but when we fail, we ponder. And that can be helpful, right? So when something feels like it hasn't gone your way, being able to ponder rather than judge why it went the way it did, what you can learn from it, so how you can actually have a sense of achievement and fulfillment and party again. It's powerful stuff. So take action when you are in the state of excitement. Take action when you're motivated. That means don't leave it till the next day. Don't leave it till everything's organized. Take imperfect action. Do it. Now, I've definitely fallen short of that. So I'm like, oh, I don't have my website ready. Oh, I don't have this ready. No. Just get on with it. So today, in my dressing gown with my web designer, we were working on one thing. We went straight into something else. I'm like, right, now I have exactly what I need to have in order to approach everyone that I said I need to approach with this StarPeace message. So that's happening imminently, and I'm sharing it with you first. So here's a couple of nuggets. If you can't, you must. When would now be a good time? This was something he said to his daughter. When would now be a good time? I just love it. When would now be a good time? Now. Now's the time. Now, do it. Okay, when would now be a good time? If you can't, you must. That basically says if there's something you feel you really can't do, then you must do it. Okay, it's telling you something there, right? Fear of success and failure. We need to have both. Okay, and what he said here was, well, no, we don't need. He said for people who have fear of success and fear of failure at the same time, you're screwed. And that's definitely been my story, because On the one hand, I want to succeed, but on the other hand, I don't, because I'm scared of failing. Like if I succeed, that means I've got to do this, that, and the other. If I fail, then this stays true. And you stay stuck between the foot on the accelerator and the foot on the brake, right? So what's going to win? Do you want the success, or do you want to keep failing at the thing that you're trying to succeed at? One has to win, choose. He says, fear needs no effort. It's like weeds, right? They just keep growing, they grow. Whereas faith takes intentional choice. Let's do it again. Fear needs no effort. It's like weeds. Whereas faith takes intentional choice. Where we focus is where we steer. What we focus on grows. Focus on where we want to go. Now, focusing on where we want to go, does this guarantee we will get there? No. But focusing on the wall you feel is in the way, and you will always run into it every time. So focusing where you want to go doesn't necessarily mean you'll get there, but if you focus on the wall you feel is in the way, you will hit it every time. Which one do you want, my friends? The wall or the potential of actually aligning with what you truly want? And even if it doesn't work out the way you intend to, let's just say that, for example, my worst nightmare, I never quite get to speaking to all the people that I believe I'm here to directly influence, to directly work with, to share my vision with, but I keep sharing it in this group. And just by doing it here and on YouTube, somehow butterfly effect happens and the message gets to them. No one ever knows it was related to me. No one ever knows that I instigated that thought form, but somehow it reaches them and the result ends up happening anyway. Let go of attachment to outcome. I know I'm always going to be taken care of. If I don't need it to come down to, it was her that did it, right? And I can just go, you know what? I just want to see this out in the world. Higher self that's already co-created this, thy will be done. That's a surrender, right? Owning that I would love to have some connection that people can see I was related to it, but at the same time, letting go of my attachment to outcome. That's why I'm here having this conversation with you now. Oh, he goes into selfish. Why selfish is your new favorite word? And basically it comes down to this. If you want to support others, you have to support yourself first. Okay. Being he went into the analogy, what the dictionary states that selfish is. And essentially it was being concerned chiefly with one's own personal profit or pleasure at the disregard of others. And he questioned that. He said, why does it need to be at the disregard of others? That's like a value added bit. Can it not just be that you are chiefly concerned with your own personal profit and pleasure as a way of enabling others to have theirs? Loved how he turned that on its head. So what you want and need helps serve others and to help them receive what they want and need, because you step forward as an example. Service to others comes from service to self. If we do not understand ourselves, how can we truly give to others? Then there was a little bit more on that, which is you have to get more self-involved to serve others better. You have to know what motivates you in order to serve others better, in order to help motivate them. Selfless and selfish are not incompatible. Amen to that. Selfishness equals a self-fulfilling prophecy. I am going to put this forward. Most selfish choice is the most selfless choice. Now, he gave the example here of maybe deciding that you're going to take a couple of hours to work on something that's really important to you, right? So you say to your kids, your partner, I'm not available. I'm going to be working on this. Now, what does this give them? This is a selfish act, one could consider, and a lot of women will be challenged by this, more, I believe, than the masculine. But it's like, I can't take time for me. I can't go to my class. I can't meditate. I can't do this course because my children won't have me to put them to bed every night. Someone else will have to, dad will have to put them to bed this night. It will ruin the routine. It will do this. No, it will teach them resilience. It will teach them that actually they can also deal with change, that they have consistency and change is good too. It will teach them, for example, if mum or dad are in the office doing something that's important and you know they're safe, right? That actually through being bored, they're then going to activate their imagination and they're going to do something they otherwise wouldn't have done, rather than waiting to be entertained the whole time by yours truly. Powerful stuff. Loved it, loved it, loved it. So he also talked about evolve rather than revolve. Evolve, rather than revolve. So evolve beyond things rather than keep revolving in circles and cycles. Right, that was basically the notes. So let's actually go into this little bit here, which I'm really excited about. And this is where I just wanted to share with you my vision. And I'm going to say again, starpeaceconsciousness.com. If you haven't yet checked it out, please do, because it's the foundation of my channel on YouTube and also the StarPeace Facebook group. I am so passionate about, one, reminding everyone they have a magic wand, which is their consciousness, their desire, and then how to use it for the highest good of all. That's what I do. Fairy godmother, yes, I am. Inspirer of magic and miracles, yes, I am. But not to do it for you, to empower you to do it for yourself. That's what excites me the most. And I know, because of all of my years of working with early influences, okay, so from preconception through to fertility, getting pregnant, staying pregnant, giving birth, the immediate postpartum period, the first 7 years of life that shape us beyond any other time, because it's our pre-programs that we then need to adjust if we don't like them. I know how we are wired to either survive or thrive. So then the question is, how can we wire the mass populace in the most graceful, easy, and joyful way? They still have to opt in, which is interesting, yeah, to thrive rather than survive. And I'm telling you, my friends, this is not going to come from the self-help movement. It's not going to come from appealing to the conscious mind alone. Now, one thing motivated me more than anything to start my journey as a yoga teacher, which then led to me being a coach and then working in the multidimensional sphere as a galactic healer, etc., etc. It was this statement: change your view of the world and the world around you changes. I had a whole series that I did on every Monday called the Rosy Colored Glasses series, seeing the world through a different lens, right? And what I'll say to you is this: if we really want to affect powerful change, we have to activate the imagination. We have to move beyond the conscious mind, move into the subconscious, and start to create new patterns in the subconscious through what we see. So from my point of view, the most powerful way to do this is through the entertainment industry. It's not actually, like, think about it. The media tells us facts, all right? But facts don't work the same as storytelling. Storytelling is far more profound than trying to motivate someone to make a change through facts. Right? So we know that the media scares the living daylights out of us. They're very good at getting our attention by constantly scaring us, but it totally erodes our sense of worth and safety in this world. Now, we can scare those into change, compliance, control through fear, or we can inspire change in others through positive role modeling. So yes, we can all do courses. We can all work with shifting our conscious mind, which is essentially mindfulness. But that's only going to be effective for a maximum of 6 minutes out of every hour. What are we going to do the rest of the time when our autopilot is in control, when our subconscious programming is in effect, when we've forgotten what we intended? Well, we need to see the modeling of what we actually desire in this world. So just imagine this. Imagine the book Green Lights is a movie. Imagine that these the roadmap and the pit stops that Matthew or McConaughey shared with everyone were put into a story form. Imagine if suddenly everyone started to see people relate to each other in a completely different way. In the movies we see, in the TV series we subscribe to. Imagine if we started to pay attention to the fact that what we watch affects our physiology, because actually the brain cannot tell the difference between what is real and what is imagined. So we're sitting there watching a scary movie and it is actually inducing adrenaline in our body, which, you know, excitement, fear, same thing. It's how you perceive it. But ultimately, is that good for us? Constantly being hyperadrenalized? We're already in a hyperadrenalized world. So my vision is this: through the entertainment industry, through amazing people like McConaughey, like the other coaches, these inspirational nuggets, if they were woven into story form, and we had way more movies and TV shows that weren't reality shows, but were actually, you know, telling us in story form how we can basically be the best version of ourselves. There are some movies out there, okay, that do that. But imagine Netflix being flooded by it. There's one particular area I'm very passionate about that I know if we actually change the modeling on screen around this, is going to completely change all of us. In one generation, I remember hearing Julie Garland say we could totally eliminate the need for hospitals in terms of us being sick all the time, right? Whether it's one, whether it's two, whether it's three, just imagine if the way that, you know, fertility, conception, pregnancy, birth, mothering, fathering, nurturing infants, nurturing children changed on stage, on the TV screen, on the big screen. that actually we would have different expectations. We would show up differently. We would subconsciously be programmed in a positive way. We would shift the collective consciousness of humanity. That is what gets me more inspired than anything else. So if you like the sound of that, please hit the like, please comment, because I see the world shifting in the fastest possible way through the entertainment industry. And we know entertainment and politics are strongly linked, right? But we also know that fear is running the world because we don't have a viable alternative. Now, here's the exciting thing. Here's what gets me super excited. I have created the StarPeace movement. I have given people, if you go to the actual website, there is a manifesto which outlines the vision I have for a new world reality, the vision that came to me through the StarPeace consciousness that I downloaded through my guides. Right? I also gave practical steps that people can take to shift their focus from what they don't want to what they do want, how they talk about things in social media, what they share, what they expose themselves to, what they talk about, how they talk about things. It's all there in StarPeace consciousness. Now, according to, and this is where I've got to go to what I had actually brought up before, because this is actually going to, make sense. So according to the spiritual teacher, Maharishi Mahesh, who influenced the Beatles, inspired the Beatles. Do you remember when the Beatles went through the whole hippie stage and Give Peace a Chance and Imagine and all that stuff that came up? So this particular spiritual teacher in India said that we only needed 1% of the population to consciously choose peace as their chosen reality, and we would have peace on earth. 1%. Now, 1% is effectively 80 million people. There's 8 billion people on the planet that we know of, right? So 80 million people, 1%. Now, there's no science behind that, but we do know that those spiritual teachers, they're pretty damn good at what they say. I mean, they put it out there, we argue with it, and then we adopt it. So they're pretty advanced, I would say, the Indian sages. Definitely worth listening to them. I know Russell Brand would agree. On the other hand, we want some scientific data for our logical minds. Well, this is where another wonderful being came in. And this is Malcolm Gladwell, author of The Tipping Point, How Little Things Can Make a Big Difference. And he introduced the concept of critical mass. So with critical mass, we only need 10% of the population to share an unshakable belief. And then it spreads like wildfire. Now we know this, it was actually scientifically proven. So scientists tested this phenomenon at the Rensselaer Polytechnic in New York and discovered that once the number grows above 10%, the idea spreads like a flame. So we need to start with 80 million of us subscribing to a particular reality, a particular doctrine, a particular manifesto, an intention that we can grow and develop together, and grow that to 800 million. And we have hit that 10%, and then it becomes massive. So the war is over. It is time for StarPeace, starpeaceconsciousness.com. Just imagine bringing all the thought leaders around the world, bring Oprah Winfrey, bring all of the wonderful coaches that came along with Matthew McConaughey, bring, who's the other wonderful Indian sage that teaches? Oh, there's so many amazing, Deepak Chopra, so many amazing people who've got huge followings. Just imagine if everybody subscribed to StarPeace Consciousness as an example. If everyone added their name and encouraged their followers to do the same, how quickly could we get to 80 million and then 800 million? Because this isn't something that any one of us are going to do on our own. All right, I believe Matthew's real shift in the global consciousness is going to come when he creates the movie for his green lights and for the roadmap. Okay. And all the other movies that are going to be inspired into being, which I'm really passionate about. But I also believe in terms of the actual thought leaders of this world, the visionaries, the luminaries, the inspiration that leads to transformation. If we all pull together, then we can create this. Now, this is where I'm speaking of. I'm saying, hey, help me, please. If you're watching this, please go to starpeaceconsciousness.com. Have a look at that manifesto. If you resonate, please sign it. Add your name to it. We've got a counter that's going to add everyone up so we can see how many people have signed it. If you are an influencer, if you are in the public eye, please let us know. Can we affiliate you with this? Can we say, yes, you've said yes to this, you align with it. If you don't like it and you want something changed, let me know. Let's evolve it. Let's make it open source. What do we want? Because I know so many people are focused on what we don't want in the world. But if we don't start looking at what we do want, then nothing really is going to change because the focus is on what we don't want. on the lack rather than what we actually do want. So this is your invitation, my friends. I love you. You're amazing. Yes, of course, I would love you to embark on a coaching program with me if you're ready. If you want to deep dive and you want to deprogram from the fear matrix and plug into the divine matrix, the heart activated, soul led human. Absolutely. Yes, I do. But if you want to do something now that's absolutely free, that requires nothing else at this point at all, other than to sign your name and then look for the email, because what I'm going to ask you to do beyond that is to share it with others. And then if you do want to know more about what we do, you can let us know. But this is not about anything other than adding your name, energizing, focusing on something you want to grow. So starpeaceconsciousness.com. Can you hold the vision with me that as I approach thought leaders, as I approach people like Matthew, like Tony Robbins, like Marie Forleo, like when I approach all these beings and go, hey, taking imperfect action here, going, please see this, it's really important. I see how it can really dovetail with your mission and we can reach more and more people and we can have this amazing wildfire snowball effect here that is going to allow peace to land on earth because each of us chooses it. Star peace creates world peace. World peace reflects star peace. That's the vision. And we can all share our gifts with this world and how we can actually make this happen. That is my passion, my friends. That's what I'm all about. I know I've taken loads of time here to share all this inspiration with you. I hope you've enjoyed it. And I hope you understand that, you know, from my point of view, we are at critical mass. We just need to remember we're at critical mass. We need to add our name to it. We need to materialize it. There are 80 million, there are 800 million people on this planet that want peace. There are, okay? But we all need to sign the same thing. We all need to show up and say yes to that, okay? So I've created something to get the ball rolling. I invite you, please, 1, to add your name to it, 2, to share it with others. We're going to put a link in the email that you will get. Once you've signed it, look out for your emails, check your spam folder because it might be in there. There'll be a link that you can share with others on your socials. There'll be a link you can email out to others. It's like, here, do you resonate? Please sign this. Let's get this going. Okay. My vision, or what I was told when I was told the war is over, it's actually Star Wars is over. It's time for Star Peace. But I don't want to offend Star Wars because I love Star Wars. I love the analogy it teaches, this duality teaching, but we're moving beyond duality into oneness now. So, you know, moving beyond Star Wars, the war is over, it is time for Star Peace. I was basically told, make Star Peace go viral. I'm like, okay, I'm total unknown. People don't really know who I am. How am I going to do this? Well, I'm not going to do it on my own. You're going to help me. We do it together, okay? Because we are all powerful mosquitoes, cosmic mosquitoes in this physical reality. And it's those who dare, they're the ones who win. Because if you don't do anything, now it's going to happen, is it? So I will be knocking on everyone's doors. Keanu, Matthew, and it's not just the men, by the way, it's their partners. You know, I am so blessed to be with a wonderful sacred union, a wonderful counterpart who is my divine masculine. Okay, the divine femmes, the divine masculines, we work together. Okay, whether you're a same-sex couple or not, we all have yin and yang, right? And we want to activate that. So all of the people I've been inspired to work with are in some form of partnership that is a powerful partnership. And I believe that's how we balance this yin and this yang. It's how we reach everyone. Okay, so thank you for hearing me. I hope you're super inspired. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I'd love to know your comments. I'd love to know what this has resonated with you, what your take home is with it. Thank you so much for being here. And I'm just handing it to the Almighty. I've got other things to do now. I love you very much. Thank you so, so much. There was one point that I actually didn't make, which was the other 4 elements. So I said that from my point of view, what Matthew McConaughey and all of the team of coaches that showed up actually shared with us was conscious mind alignment and blind spot discovery and fine tuning. But there are 4 other steps. I'll go through them quickly. Higher self, put your soul in control, step 1. Number 2, intention, get really clear on it. What is it you want? Why do you want it? Number 3, what is in your power to do? Conscious mind alignment. How can you get aligned with it? What is in your conscious control? What are the physical steps you can take? Inspired action once you put your soul in control and you've got clear on your intention. Step 4, subconscious clearing and reprogramming has to happen. It's not something you just do once or twice. It's a full-on sweep. We've got cultural, societal, religious, familial conditioning. We've got bloodline memories. We've got soul memories. We've got our own direct experiences. There's so much there. Okay, it needs to be cleared. Some of us are specialists in that, including me. It's what we do, right? Step 5, blind spot discovery and fine tuning. That was already covered by these wonderful teachers. And step 6, self-mastery. Self-mastery is surrender control to your soul. It's about surrender. It's about thy will be done. It is about divine timing. It's exactly what we teach on our work, on our courses even, Fearless, Loved Up and Limitless, and also the one-to-one work I do with people. So if you do want to know more, please do follow the link to book a desire mapping call, and I'll be delighted to share more with you once I know more about you and what has brought you to me, okay? But just remember that we're all pieces of the puzzle that creates the collective paradise that is Paradise Earth, the new Earth paradigm. We are recreating it. It is our time now to create Paradise Earth, the new Earth paradigm. That's what Star Peace Consciousness is. You're amazing. I love you so much. Thank you again for subscribing and liking and commenting and all the wonderful things you do. Big hugs from me. And thank you to all the bright lights that show up in this world and actually do it. Do it. They just do it. I love you. That's it for now. Take care now.